What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? And welcome back to After the Snap. And today we're gonna jump in it really quick because I got some baby stuff going on over here, but that's fine. We're gonna run through season 4, episode 11 of Evil. This one is called Fear of the Future. We're gonna run through it as quickly as possible so that I can get back to my first responsibility here today. Now, welcome everyone. Welcome one and all. If you're here, make sure that you're hitting the like button and that you are subscribed if you haven't yet done so. And I appreciate that. Let's go, y'all. The episode is titled Fear of the Future, season 4, episode 11. We know we only have 3 episodes left. So we are winding things up. And I like we could have put this recap off another week, but we got to catch up on some of the things that occurred in this episode because big reveals. I guess important reveals. It's more or less a lot of building on the characters that we have come to know and love in Evil, specifically the big three, but we've also got some other stuff that happened. So in these opening scenes, we learned that the assessor program is being ended. The parish is closing. And of course, when anytime you get something like that happening and you got a black face that you can attach to it, that's what happens. So we are calling it the Black Bluff. I've never heard it called the Black Bluff before, but I have been a victim of the Black Bluff. We'll talk about that another time. So I understand completely what David is saying, but these scenes also indicate how Paramount is treating this series. All of a sudden you don't know why everything was successful. Why are we ending? So I think that this was like kind of a wink and a nod to the audience, kind of wondering, why would you end something that is doing so well, even if it's not doing doorbusters as far as ratings are concerned. This show is a successful show. You've got people talking week after week about this show, and just like the parish closing, it's about money. It's about money. So I enjoyed that reference, and it was very meta. And it's also call center for possessions, and we are all going in that direction where instead of having one-on-one human interactions, we're trying to do it via a script and over the telephone. We're calling it in, basically. We're phoning it in. I liked all of that. Justin, I'm glad that you caught that as well. Okay, so Dr. Boggs was going to deliver Cheryl's final message to Andy, and he walks in on Andy and some masked woman, because they were both wearing animal masks, because that's not weird at all. Okay, if that's your kink, I'm sorry. You do you. But that was a bit weird. So as he is delivering that thumb drive, he catches Andy having an affair with this masked woman. So we didn't get to see the woman. Of course, Andy now is in fear that Dr. Boggs is going to tell his wife. So now he's trying to figure out how he's going to tell his wife that he's quote unquote met someone. Now, didn't we just talk about this last week? Didn't we talk about the fact that he spends so much time away from the family that it is hard to believe that the masks are called back to season 1. I forgot. I have forgotten about whatever the callback is. I've forgotten. I don't even remember. So yes, there are some things that I need to go back and revisit. We talked about the fact that Andy could potentially have had an affair on on Kristen last week. Well, now it has been confirmed that they they've cheated on each other. The difference is, I think many of us, because we've gotten to know Kristen over 4 seasons, many of us have said we forgave Kristen for that, and now we find out Andy has done it, and now Andy's a piece of crap because why? But it is, turnabout is fair play, and I don't condone it on either behalf, but this was probably the worst time for Kristen to find out something like this about her husband, because now she's just lost her mom. She just lost her job. She don't know this yet, but she's losing her job. And now you're telling me my marriage is down the tubes as well. So that to me was like, how much torture can a person take in one episode where we found out that that Kristen she's being dumped on right now. I didn't remember Kristen and Andy using masks, but if that's their kink, again, knock yourselves out. um, then we go to the homegoing ceremony for Sheryl. After the funeral, everybody's coming back to Kristen's house to say their final goodbyes and to reminisce on what a badass Sheryl was. And we found out a lot about her past just in these moments where we were talking, where we were listening to her friends and people who knew and loved her. We listened to them talk about how Sheryl touched them, and her being she was a rocker and she was a risk taker and all of these things. We also meet a woman named Ellie who comes in and she says, "Hey, I knew your mom. She babysat me when I was 8." And I was thinking, if Sheryl had babysat this girl when she was 8 years old, wouldn't Kristen know her? Wouldn't she have at least heard of her? But in this situation, Kristen had no idea who this woman is, but she realized, hey, we got a lot in common, and I like talking to her. So they talked and they talked and they talked until after everyone else left. They were having tequila, they were having drinks, and Ellie, who is the woman, she says, "Hey, surprise, I'm your daughter Laura from the future, because there's this particle, the thing with the particle accelerator, it opened up a wormhole and I was able to travel back in time 30 years to give you a warning. And the warning is Andy is cheating. Your husband is cheating on you, girl, your marriage is over, and that David truly loves you and he's going to leave the priesthood for you." Now, even though we think this is probably something that would that Kristen would welcome this news in a way, nobody wants their, "Glad you made it, bougie. I gotta be quick today, but we are going to shoot through it as fast as we can." So you would think that someone who is um, quote unquote happily married, this wouldn't be something that she wanted to hear, but I think she would have wanted to hear this because it's validating her feelings for David. It's making her have hope, and that's exactly what Ellie wanted to deliver. Ellie wanted to deliver some hope. um so Kristen then makes a phone call after Ellie leaves, and she calls her husband and was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he automatically feels like she knows about this affair. So he spills his guts. "I'm going to tell you that I met someone." And it's not like, in a moment of weakness, I had an affair. It is, I've met someone. And that indicates to me that this is not somebody that you're willing to give up. So in essence, the marriage is pretty much over. It's pretty much over because he has feelings for somebody else. Now, we're not going to let Kristen off the hook. We know that she has feelings for someone else as well, but she never consummated these feelings with David. This is just something that she thinks that she can work herself past because she's married and they've got this family. Okay, so when she the next day, Kristen is the she I'm talking about, goes over to the mental institution to find out, okay, let me find out what is really going on. And again, Andy tells her that he met a person who is across the hall, so somebody else who's in this mental health facility. That part, I'm not going to cast any judgment or aspersions, even though most institutions tell you that you should not enter any type of romantic relationship with somebody that is also dealing with some a mental breakdown. And even though we know that his mental breakdown was because of what Sheryl and Leland had kind of put him through, we also know that he had a choice and he should not have chosen to mess with this woman, to deal with this woman. But the way Kristen broke down when she walked in that room and looked at Andy, she never stopped looking at Andy as she kind of went unhinged. Ooh, it's a good question. It's something I'm thinking about. I'm gonna mark it as a start question so we could come back to this at the end of this breakdown. But um Kristen went unhinged and she was so calm. That is the scariest type of unhinged that I have ever seen. And I know that it's scary because I've become I've become unhinged like that in the past where if I was hysterical, that's one thing. If I'm controlled and I am calm, that's scary. So she was controlled and calm. She told him, basically, I'm not paying for this shit. This shit that I'm paying for, I'm not paying for it anymore. Let her pay for it. Get your shit and get out of this room. And guess what? You don't have a house to come to either. Because I'm gonna throw your stuff out on the street. And I'm also filing for divorce. So we know that this situation, or we at least think that this situation is over. And we have been saying it for weeks that we know that Andy is not a necessary piece to these puzzles, and there's got to be a way that they go get him out of there. I thought that it was going to wind up in death. Justice said, well, let's not just kill him just yet. And they didn't kill him thus far. Thus far, he is just running away. He's running away with this woman that he met. Um, so Kristen is having a mental breakdown. She comes home and Ben is there fixing something, and she's able to talk this thing through with him. And Ben calmly was like, "You want me to kill him?" And Kristen is like, "How would you do it?" And he was like, "Oh, poison." And she's like, "Well, no, 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 no. He needs to die of a sexually transmitted disease, and he needs to be in agony for the rest of his life." And I'm like, yep, she's mad. She's mad. But also, it, is there any doubt in our mind that Ben would actually kill Andy for his friend? For a minute in season, where in earlier in season 4, because I'm calling these last few episodes season 5. Earlier in season 4, it looked like Ben kind of had feelings for Kristen, but now they have righted that because they've only got so many episodes to finish this story in. And he is Team David. He wants David and Kristen to wind up together. The kids found out because as Kristen was telling Ben about the affair, about this woman with this dumb mask, about the time travel ish, the kids were listening. They some expert ear hustlers, and they heard it all. So they're concerned that their parents are getting a divorce, and I expect. have a STD. Yeah, she wanted him to go out on something terrible. I don't know which one. Whichever one makes you die the slowest and in the most agony, that's the one she wanted him to have. Um, let's see. So Andy and Ellie are going to run away with each other. Let's go to Leland real quick. Leland, surprise, surprise, is still in jail. I didn't think he was going to still be in jail for these bodies that they found in the back room of his apartment that I forgot were there. I did. I forgot all about that. But they are, he's got these charges against him, and his attorney, he doesn't like his attorney. The 60 have gotten him a litigator, and Leland doesn't feel like this litigator is the right person for him. Now, the litigator tells him, "Look, they're gonna be mad if you try to replace me. You need to just go ahead on and let me take care of this case." As it turns out, Leland has his own plan on how he's going to get out of this. So he uses the leverage that he has over Dr. Boggs to try to get Dr. Boggs to say that he is insane, but he won't have to spend the rest of his life in a facility, that he can be treated. Boggs is saying, "I'm not going to do it." Kurt, again, exercises the leverage that he has over him, and also asked him for a reference for an attorney, and he gives him one. And this other guy comes in, and he seems to be Perry Mason on this whole case. But as it turns out, Harry Stick is coming back. And when Harry Stick re-enters the courtroom for Leland's hearing, he ain't the same Harry Stick that we saw in the earlier part of the episode. Now he is a super imposing demon. When we look at Harry Stick, and when Leland looks at Harry Stick, we all see him in his true form. Everybody else in the courtroom just sees this kind of disheveled half-wit coming in to represent Leland. Oh my. Taylor Swift's concerts in Vienna were canceled because of a terrorist attack that was planned against that. We might talk about that another time. That just came across my screen here. But we find out that Harry Stick in this real form, this big imposing demon, is the evil that was coming to New York. So we got one answer, this huge reveal in this kind of more character driven episode. And let me see. Now tells Ben tells David what's everything that's going on with Kristen. And David was like, let me know if there's anything I can do for you, Kristen. And Kristen says, "Can you come by?" And he's like, I sure can. He comes by, but Kristen, still being the good mother that she is, she's like, "I am not going to further confuse my children, so you're going to have to meet me out in the office. Meet me out in my office." And Demon Kristen had already told David, if she tells you to go out in that office and she locks the door, you know what she wants. David already has this kind of seed planted in his mind, but he goes out to see Kristen, and he goes into her office, and he wants to know if there's anything that he can do for Kristen. And she says, "Can you just hold me?" And I thought, oh my God, Demon Kristen was right. But I think that the way this scene played out, with them just embracing, is far sexier than any kind of lust-filled sex session that they could have written. The writers cooked, because again, it's still building up the romantic tension between these two, and it is still building up the kind of back and forth in their minds about should they or shouldn't they. But it was still a very, very intimate moment, far sexier than if they wanted to have a sex scene here. So later on, while the lawyer is dragging chained bodies, yeah, dragging them and stuff is just smearing all over. We can see all of this. Nobody else can see all of that. That's interesting. We are hopefully we'll get some answers tomorrow. Um, but Ben, and I don't know if in this moment Ben realizes that he is also being a tempter to David. He's going to David and he's asking David, why are you remaining a priest when you clearly are in love with Kristen? And that is when David goes into a monologue about how he is not going to add to the litany of broken promises that if people don't take things seriously anymore in the world. And he made a promise to a higher authority than him, higher authority than everybody. If if you're a religious person, he said, I'm not going to go against the vows that I made. And if that makes me from the Middle Ages, then damn it, I am the Middle Ages. But he really, really defended his choice to be a priest. And it makes me wonder if this whole monologue is more or is less David trying to convince Ben of his convictions and more of him trying to convince himself of these convictions, because a lot has been seen and was left to be discovered, that a lot of the things that could have been a supernatural occurrence has very reasonable explanations, and maybe his faith could be rocked by that. That's just my own question. It's nothing that he said out loud, but it's more over the journey that we've taken with these characters over the last 4 seasons. It makes me wonder, is he trying to convince himself that he should remain a priest? Um, where's my last note? Okay, so finally we get down further into the episode. George has come back, the night terror demon George. He's back and he is taunting Kristen, saying that he's going to hurt this child, Timothy, who is extremely happy with all of this crap that's going on around him. Timothy is happy, giggly, cherubic baby. He's a baby, and it kind of is making me oscillate between he's just being a baby, or is he kind of relishing in the misfortunes of Kristen? I don't think that's it. I really think that sometimes a baby is just a fucking baby. So Ben and Kristen have a conversation about Ellie, and he's like, I'm going to look into Ellie. Now, in the mean and in between, Ellie has made a return visit to Kristen's home, where she talks to Laura. It's the only person there, and Laura says that, hey, my mom's not here and nobody's here, and you really shouldn't be here. But Laura has the presence of mind that while this chick went to go to the bathroom, she takes a picture of the license plate of the vehicle that Ellie arrived in. Ellie is not who she says she is. She says that she's Laura from the future, and she has an awful lot of information about the family, but Ellie is not who she says she is. It's revealed that Ellie is there to harm Timothy. She's there to the baby, and she also has some kind of deal with Lexus, where she wants Lexus, I guess, gone too, because Lexus is going to do whatever it takes to protect the baby. Okay, so she comes back to the home later that night, but this is after the license plate has been run, and we find that this car that she's traveling in has been stolen. So we still don't get a good grip on who she is in the real world until Ellie comes back to try to harm Timothy. But Laura, just like Sister Andrea, Laura is there. And Laura is ready to put up a fight for her baby brother. In the meantime, in between, Kristen is in the bed. She's still being tormented. She's having sleep paralysis because George is like, shit, I'm about to have me some popcorn because this is about to get good. And that's exactly how I felt. But Ellie, first she sent a gift for the baby, and that gift was a little onesie for the baby, and the baby was supposed to die from wearing this onesie because she had like a nerve agent on the onesie. And I'm wondering where the hell how does she even get these wonderful toys? So I don't know how she got a hold to a nerve agent, but she had a nerve agent and she planned to use that to kill the baby. They were thinking 10 steps ahead, and they also did some digging because Ben did some digging and found out that Ellie is a patient at the same mental health facility that Andy is at. Meaning, this crazy ass lady is the lady that Andy is having an affair with. And for a while throughout this episode, I thought she really was Laura from the future. I'm not gonna lie, usually I'm kind of swift about certain things, but yeah, she's that woman. She's the masked woman from the first scene of the episode. And yeah, she came back to do the baby in. But again, Laura, with the air horn that Kristen gave her last episode, she used that air horn to kind of to get rid of Laura, to take her out of commission, basically. And then they call the police, and by the time the police get there, Ellie has gone out the window, and her and Andy are in the wind. I'm wondering to myself, did Andy know that they were going to do all of this? Because he's highly suggestible still, because brain matter, you kind of need most of that. You need that in your head. And his had been being drained. So is he still being manipulated by the 60? And if he's being manipulated by the 60, do we think that Ellie is a plant? A big part of me thinks that she might be. And but sometimes a home wrecker is just a home wrecker. But I honestly believe that she could be part of the plan because she knows too much. She knows too much. And where would she get this onesie with this nerve agent on it? It's hard to imagine somebody in a mental health facility having or being able to obtain this kind of stuff, because that makes her some type of evil genius, and she doesn't seem like an evil genius. So Justice said it was a touching scene. It showed true heart and not just lustfulness. Yeah. Justin clapped at David's speech. Marge says that David is struggling. He's trying to convince himself that that he needs to stay in the religion. Justin thinks that Timothy is a baby just being a baby, but there is a feeling of, could he be still something else besides just a baby? The sleep paralysis scene was so realistic. I suffer from that sometimes, where I am fully coherent up here, but the rest of my body is not acting right. So I know what that feels like. And I have to convince myself sometimes to just move the smallest part of your body and the rest of it will break. I've been there, done that, especially, and I've had the shadow people in my room. I know y'all gonna think that I belong on this show, but I'm not lying. I've seen shadow people in my room while I've had sleep paralysis. Whole different story, whole nother day. So Justin pities Andy a bit. He's a victim also. Yeah. Um, Marge does believe that Ellie is a plant. As you say, Andy is highly suggestible. He is just another victim, just like Justice said. And yeah, it's an unpopular view because he's given us a lot of reasons to doubt him. He's been so absent, and even though, some people would say, hey, you got to follow your dreams. When you have a family, sometimes, not all the time, but if the dream is not benefiting the family, you might need to put it on pause. We don't abandon our dreams, but put your dreams on pause if it is not benefiting the whole family. And it seemed like Andy didn't do that. And that is why it's easy for me to not hate the character, but to not particularly like him that much either. So Justin has the sleep paralysis and the visits from the shadow people as well. I know that it's good to know that I'm not the only one. But Ellie and Andy are in the wind, so that doesn't mean that we're through with them. There's a possibility and a potential that we see these two characters again, and that if Ellie is a part of this huge plan to yeah, and I guess it makes complete sense because they knew that Andy was going to be in this mental facility. So I guess Ellie is also, she could be a big part of the plans, which means she's not going to give up. They're not going to just say, oh, now you and Andy can go live off happily ever after, because everything had to be part of the plan, meaning that even her interest in Andy is part of the plan. Mr. Stick, we got to figure out what his shtick is, and we will figure that out tomorrow. And we also are left kind of with the thought that something is going to give, because this is what the Ellie and obviously the 60 and Leland, what they want is David to leave the priesthood for Kristen. It makes me feel like that will not happen in this season. And a big part of me, again, wanted this to happen, but because that part plays right into their plan, I can't see it happening. I think that we are going to end up somewhere else when this season ends. Specifically for me, will somehow Ben and Kristen end up together. I know that sounds like I'm jumping out of a window, and I probably am, but it almost seems like if your next best friend, the next person in the world that's closest to you at this point, besides David, is Ben. And Ben has been there for this family since they've all met. He has taken on a lot of a fatherly role to these kids. David has been more kind of like an uncle. They call Ben the Magnificent. They are happy when Ben's around. It seems like her chemistry with Ben is just as much as her chemistry with David. But with David, there's that lust, and with Ben, it's kind of more like a relaxed friendship. So tell me what you think. Sheryl she did. She was the person who put the evidence of everything, spelling everything out. She put that in his hand. So was she putting it in his hands as part of this big plan, or was she trying to tell him, This is, look, this is what they want you to do. They want you to do all of these dastardly deeds. I'm trying to tell you, you're not, this is not you doing this. You're not yourself when your brain has been tapped. Somebody is lobotomizing you of brain fluid, and and she's giving you a heads up. But it may have been too late. He had already probably been involved with this woman, and his feelings may be involved, whereas the woman may just be playing her part in the bigger the bigger picture. um Justice says she wanted Sheryl wanted Andy dead and was setting him up. Marge is predicting a big battle in the final episodes. I believe there's going to be a huge battle as well. The Black Angel, we got to get that back. We've got to also get the lady, I forgot her name. Was started with a G, right? I can't remember. But that lady, the other prophet kind of good guy. Justin also says, I think in his state he will make the wrong choice, and he would make the wrong choice, and she knew that. But then that would be still playing into the plans of the 60. And by at that stage, when Sheryl gave the thumb drives to Boggs, her only mindset was in bringing down the 60. Was she still thinking about harming the relationship between Kristen and Andy? I don't know. Yeah, the prophet lady. I can't remember her name. Marge. I know I'm not gonna have much more time. This is why I'm trying to listen to make sure that I don't hear little baby voices. But this episode, again, another great episode. It is the first of the last 4 episodes. So we've got 3 more starting tomorrow. We got 3 more. They got to wrap up a lot. They have to wrap up an awful lot in these 4 episodes. The saying of goodbye to Father Ignatius bothered me. It kind of, Grace, that's her name. I knew her name started with a freaking G, but I could not think of her name. Oh, so this is a good episode. Again, gave us a lot of character work. It showed us the evil that was coming to New York, and that evil is Harry Stick. Who knows what else he has up his sleeve, but he's part of the evil that was coming to New York. And he and Leland are going to be able to confer an awful lot with him being Leland's attorney. They're going to be able to get further in their machinations with one another while they are working together to get Leland freed. And yeah, I can't say there's a lot to wrap up, but I can't wait to see how they do it. We got 3 episodes. I got a strong feeling that more reveals have to be oncoming tomorrow. This can't be another character episode. It's going to have to be something that kind of starts to begin to wrap things up. And hopefully by the end, we have a nice bow on this whole series that, God, I wish we would have been talking about this for the whole 4 years. But I'm glad we're talking about it now. So I don't have anything else. I appreciate everybody for hanging out with me today on this shorter conversation, but still, I needed to get this in the ether before tomorrow. Both Ben and David need resolution for their struggles. Yep, it's too much. It's a lot to deal with, but not enough. Gosh, it's a lot to deal with in just these last few episodes. I cannot wait to see how things end. Until next week, Wednesday, I'm available on the Discord. Again, Discord After the Snap fam. You can look us up and talk to us over there at your convenience. And with all that, I've got nothing else. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.